Welcome to Main Street Minds with your host, Amish Munshi. This is where industry leaders and seasoned pros share their secrets to success beyond limits. Let's dive in.
Hello and welcome to Main Street Minds. Today we have a very special guest, Bernardo Letayf, with us. He is here from the beautiful state of Florida in the big city of Miami. And he is here to explain us how we can make fun while learning and doing something that we all like to do, right? Gaming. So without further delay, let's welcome Bernardo. And Bernardo, share your secrets. Tell us tell us everything about yourself.
Don't worry. Thank you so much for letting me be in this space. I'm very happy to do it. So I've been working with I have been working as a gamification expert for the past several years now. We started doing learning about gamification in 2011, and we released the platform around 2016. I started working on it in 2014. I released it as a platform in 2016, and we actually started the company itself in 2018. First, I was doing things as a web designer, and then we said, okay, let's just create something for this specific business. And but just like you said, Mish, the idea is to have a software that will allow the users to engage with their learning in a very different way, kind of if they were doing some sort of role-playing game, which is what we're looking for. We're looking for fun ways to engage with learning for longer periods of time. We know all the power of games. The power of games is insane. It just immediately connects people with the content, and everybody likes when they grab on the controller. They start testing how the buttons work, and you start jumping and clicking here, clicking there, and then suddenly you get all this feedback. And the question in the air was, why can't we do that in a classroom? Why cannot we simply transfer these concepts into the classroom? And the gamification industry has been trying to introduce that to all areas, and we've been successful in different businesses with different things. But it's more project based. A couple of ideas have actually gone through pharma. They have gone through banking. They have gone through sales, through specific parts of it, and they run for a while, and then they just take it away and they just keep doing it. But where we know where this is long lasting and they do not take it away is in the training and development industry and in the education industry. Every time that you develop a gamified learning environment, that's what I call them. People just don't want something different. They just want to go with it because it gives you every single bit of clearance on what you have to do, and you just enjoy your journey, and you actually learn better and are happier to go through. So the Blue Rabbit, what does is you upload your content into it, and it pretty much creates some sort of Dungeons and Dragons campaign without the epic things. I keep saying some Dungeons and Dragons, but it's more about the rules and that you get points from the content that you upload as a student. You get points, you get some coins that you can use for things in the software, and then you can purchase items and then use those items to defeat other challenges, and then you face your challenges, and everything gets incredible because you get a back and forth instant feedback process. That's what we've been doing for the past several years.
Cool. That sounds such an interesting concept, and I didn't realize you've been doing this for close to a decade. It's almost there. I know. So how what was the path like? Was it easy to get to where you are today, or did you see ups and downs?
So I gotta say, was it easy to get to this point? Definitely not in the sense of, I just woke up one day and I got the idea and it worked. No, not even close. I think that I believe in the phrase that says anything that's worth, it's gonna require hard work. There's nothing easy behind it. But there's actually no successful story where there's no actual hard work in the back. Everything else is just kind of like something that nobody actually likes fake successful stories, right?
Yeah.
In reality, for us, it has been not only ups and downs. It has been like we had a really high up and then we had a really bad down.
Yeah.
We even had an investor come into the company, and midway through they said, you know what, I have to take everything out, and they just walked out the door. And that almost that crippled us pretty badly. And then we recovered from that and we came back from it. We're trying to get to a certain amount of users, and in the process of getting to that point, suddenly they canceled a big project, and then we had grown all this infrastructure. Then we had to scale them back. So it's been a very interesting couple of years. As you said, like close to a decade now. Yeah, a lot of things happened. At the beginning, it was very exciting, and it was I would say, fairly easy to get new clients. But then midway through, you start realizing how you have to expand in different ways, how you have to reach different markets, how you pivot a little bit with the same idea, with the same product, how you pivot between different industries. Because then suddenly a bank called me and hey, we want to use your software for this. And then we realized that the software itself was not what they were needing. They needed a different type of approach. And then we had to pivot it a little bit. And then we came back from it. We went into education and we pivoted into conferences and events. And then we came back to it into training and development industry. And then it's kind of like a little bit like, but what's interesting is that most times that I learn other entrepreneurs have to pivot, sometimes they do have to change the product quite a lot. In our case, it has been more than we had a hypothesis that this software would work very well with the market education. And it turns out that it works very well with a lot of different markets. And we just had to focus a little bit more on that. And that's where we're at right now. It's kind of like you go through the woods and the jungle, and then you're crossing through it, and then you thought that you were going exactly that place, and then when you realize, you open up and like, oh, it's a different place. But that's how this journey has been. It's a fantastic quest. It's an incredible adventure, and it surprises you in return.
Yeah, that's really incredible that you were able to like pivot a little bit while not completely change things. Like you could still continue doing what you were doing and still explore a larger market share. So one of the things you mentioned is there was a time when things were not right. The investor just walks away. At that important point in the life of Blue Rabbit, how do you decide? Like, should you continue pursuing, or should you pivot and do something completely different? Like, what was how does those decisions come into factor, and what actually led to success?
So when we were at our worst point, sorry, I had an interview with someone, with Nathan Latka, and he asked me a question: why don't you just sell the business and do something completely new? I mean, you could experience with something else. You don't have to completely depend on it. And I told him, there's an issue that we've seen, that we have some seasonality throughout the year, and then we were getting close to, you know what, we'd rather close door. And then that year, in the next month, we made something like $35,000, something like somebody, a couple of clients came around, and we were like, where did these people came from, and where were you in January, you know?
Yeah.
And then they gave us some gas in the tank, and then we realized that we don't necessarily have to close entirely the doors for of this. There's still some market out there for it, and we could continue to adapt to it. So we decided to leave the doors open for a while. We lowered down the cost. We took a little bit slower pace on it. We started doing more targeted services. So whenever a client came up, we turned on a server specifically for that client, rather than having something bigger that would accommodate more people. And then little by little, we started to find our niche, and in a more, I would say, a much safer and cost-effective way. So the software itself can live without requiring so much consumption from the company itself. So that's where we decided that we can keep it up. And at the same time, we started working on different solutions and on different projects. because with all the expertise that we've had from the industry and with all the data, a lot of people started reaching out with different needs. We were like, hey, we know you build this software, but we don't need that software. We needed a solution on this other front.
Yeah.
Can you help us with that? So we started developing some custom services and some custom software that were around the concept of gamification, but they were not products that we could then market into the as themselves. So we kind of like separated the business from that, and we've been doing some development since then. So it's kind of like balancing act between those two things.
Yeah, and there is some level of competition as well, right, in the industry. Like there are other players as well. What is the key to succeed in this? Like, is it more adoption of is the market still much bigger and there's not enough gamification based learning, or do you think it's wide enough already and it's more of like taking market share from a competitor?
So there's two things. First, what's happening to gamification for the past, I would say 3-4 years, is that actually the user experience design kind of like industry has been absorbing gamification. We thought that when we started with this thing 2013, 2012, when it was a huge, kind of like a huge buzzword around the world, the biggest audiences that we got were between 2014 and 2017. Those were the biggest conferences, the most amount of people, right? So at that time, we started believing that gamification was going to become an industry on its own. And then little by little, what was proven is that gamification is becoming an essential part of the user experience design, kind of like as a whole. So on that niche, user experience design is not even slowing down, it's actually growing, it's becoming bigger. And the gamification part of it, it's actually becoming bigger, because we know exactly how to get people engaged with our apps, with our softwares and everything.
Yeah.
So the market itself is growing. The industry is actually doing pretty well. And in terms of competitors, as I said, like the user experience design is absorbing it. It's not as many competitors as that, like in terms of there's so many software out there that you have to compete against them. Is that now a lot of user experience designers and user interface designers having specializing in gamification for quite some time. So now, even if you want to offer something like this, they are doing it in-house, or they're being hired as part of the development team, and they are implementing the gamification software themselves directly inside the house. What we saw from big software platform like there's a lot of them. I'm going to quote a couple of them. We know the biggest ones were Bunchable and Batchville. Those are the most famous ones. One was absorbed by a bigger company, and the other one just simply disappeared. I've never known what happened to it. And then there were like another 4 or 5 around it that you could create. Their software so powerful that you could literally create a blue rabbit out of it.
Okay.
And what we realized with all of them, and every time I've talked to colleagues who run these companies, is that they find themselves more often than not selling their service to gamify the content of the client through their platforms rather than selling the platform itself. So that's exactly the same thing that has happened to us quite a while ago. We are actually selling more gamified content development rather than just selling the platform as licensed and then you leave it open. So the market is a little bit like that, and it's the beauty of it is that we're not focused in content development rather than just gamifying the content before. We thought that a teacher would come in and then they would say, "Oh, I'm going to put my curriculum in here, and then I'm going to gamify it. I'm going to be happy." And no, what the teachers want is to come into the platform and say, "I want the content already there for you." So now schools hire you you have to use your platform because you already have the expertise and everything that has to go into it. So you just we use our platform, and then we upload their content and we gamify their content. We help the teachers, or we help anyone with the curriculum. We upload it, and then they can run it. So it's a little bit of that mixture, and that's how we have been keeping access to the market. There's a lot of it that works this way.
Nice. And How was it? How was the experience like tap into the market and actually get the ideal customer that you really initially wanted to do, right? Like what was the keys to actually succeed? Uh, I mean, looking backwards, it will look like, oh, why didn't we just do this? But it's not. It's never that easy, right? It takes years of effort of cracking into a market.
Yeah.
Like how is it now with like what ratio of customers are more of students and schools versus other industries?
So honestly, it's been split 50-50 like for
Okay.
forever. The
Okay.
difference is that at the beginning we would be actually selling the license of the platform, and
Mm-hmm.
some schools would buy it without asking for us for our input into it, and they would just do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they would just call for a support ticket, like, "Hey, can you help me check if these points are working or not?" And that was pretty much
Yeah.
it. And now it's completely on the other side. It's like, "Hey, we want to do this. We have this content. Can you do it for us?" And then it works like that. Now, how was it? I would say it was scary at the beginning because
Yeah.
you come in and then you say, "Oh, teachers are gonna be super happy about it," because you would go out on a I don't know, educators conference, and I would
Mm-hmm.
stand up and say, "Oh, we have this great thing," and everything. Everybody was like super excited, and then
Mm-hmm.
nobody got it, and I was like, "Ooh, what's
Yeah.
happening? What are we doing here?"
Yeah.
Um, there was a point where we offered a school the license. We sold the license on its own, and they
Mm-hmm.
didn't do anything with the software for about a year. And we're
Yeah.
like, "What's going on?" And we actually got paid for it, and we were
Yeah.
like, "Well, I don't know. If you don't
Yeah.
use the platform, there's nothing we can do about it." However, you don't the a lot of people say, "Well, if you're making money, that would be fine." No, we don't
Yeah.
just want to make money. And one of the
Yeah.
things that we have in our website is that we really want to transform education. We
Yeah.
want them to test our software and see if it works and if they want to use it. What that school revealed to us is that they did not want to have to invest 3 or 4 hours to upload their content, because it was really easy to. They didn't want to do it. Teachers just
Mm-hmm.
thought that the software was going to be there for them and it was going to be very easy. And it required some work where they would have to
Yeah.
upload each exercise and their quizzes, and they did not like that. And that's when it hit us. It was like, okay, so, and then we started switching from it, and we started saying, okay, so we're going to do this for you, and we will upload
Yeah.
the content for you. We're going to do it this way.
Yeah.
We're going to charge you a little bit more, but it's going to be okay. And then that's when we realized that people are more interested in getting the content ready and for you
Yeah.
than anything else. So
Yeah,
that's
especially
what we did.
initially, right? Like initial hurdle is always more difficult. Like
Yeah,
once they're like, oh, I think I can do this. I instead of just sending it by email, I think I can do this. And
yeah,
slowly they will be like, oh, getting comfortable with it.
yeah, 100%. And
Yeah.
right now, one of our clients asked for they paid a very big fee because they're doing a huge project with a lot of students nationwide,
Mm-hmm.
and this in Mexico, and they asked for several features that we were okay to develop for them. So we started adding some additional things where the content's going to be locked in, and then the teachers can clone from there, and
Mm-hmm.
then all the teachers that are using their content cannot change what's happening. So these companies selling the content already pre-built, and then they can redistribute it to all the teachers on
Mm-hmm.
any school. And it's like, okay, I like this course taught this way, and they just download the course and they go
Yeah.
with it. That has been huge. That has
Yeah.
been a very interesting approach,
Mm-hmm.
where there's a team of people behind that are building the content for the teachers.
Mm-hmm.
They have been trained with us on how to gamify it properly, how to add the right amount of points, how to get people
Yeah.
engaged into it. They do that. They constantly get the people engaged with their content, and now
Mm-hmm.
they can distribute it in a much more efficient way. And they do not have the risk of having a teacher edit their content and change any of it. They just have to run the class.
Yeah.
And there's I don't know if I have the number right, but there's something around 300 teachers doing this right now in different schools, and they are all super happy with it. They go like, it just works. I don't
Yeah.
have to think about it. I just go there. The students know exactly what to do. All the challenges are in place. every single class is already set up for us, and
Mhm.
all we have to do is have them go, and they are super happy. So
Yeah.
that's some of the consequences of going away from just
Yeah.
selling the license into understanding that what people want is the content, the gamified content, ready
Mhm.
for them to run.
Yeah, and one of the things I was looking on your website is you are also providing the learning experience to direct to consumers now. Like an end user can actually just go and like start selecting what
Yep.
they want to learn and have a subscription for that. What are some of the topics that somebody can learn?
Oh no, the things that we have a couple of workshops on that are run in turn on how to do proper gamification. So whether you are in marketing or in sales or whatever, and you want to
Hmm.
create marketing strategy, sorry, gamified strategy,
Hmm.
we train people in gamification and we train people in the use of the platform itself.
Hmm.
We're not developing content like for people to download the course and everything, because the
Yeah,
content is property. How do you say that? Like
proprietary.
proprietary
Yeah,
by the client. So I
yeah,
cannot resell their content, but we help them build, upload, and ready. And one of our
yeah.
clients here in the US,
Interesting.
their certification program has been, I helped them build it into a
Yeah,
platform, and now they just release it and sell it.
yeah,
But it's their
yeah,
business, and they are trying to market it to it. So I
yeah.
cannot advertise for them like that.
Yeah, one of the things I was thinking on
Mhm.
the lending side, like I do a lot of real estate lending,
Mhm.
and over there, like I would say 8 out of the 10 people that I'm speaking with don't have good credit or don't have enough down payment to buy a house.
Mhm.
A lot of them have to go through something called as credit repair or goal setting or something like that. Now, if instead of that thing sounding like a credit repair or a savings, if we could gamify that, that would be so much more fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like so, instead of calling it credit repair, imagine that you could call it something like
Home buying
um,
preparedness or something.
it should feel like you're trying to defeat some sort of dragon mountain
Yeah,
challenge, where the consequence of actually overcoming those challenges is going to increase your credit score. So,
yeah,
what gamifying something like that would look like is where the people, the users, would start seeing how their credit score starts going up,
yeah,
and that's the best progression meter, the best progress tracker that you could have in the world, where you
yeah,
would, okay, so here are the steps. Okay, so we're not calling it gonna credit repair, but we're gonna call it I don't know, financial health or something
yeah.
like that,
Credit,
or
yeah,
we
like
would
a
have to
demon,
talk. We would have
like
to work on the
yeah, a specific highest interest rate
yeah,
credit card could be called a credit demon or something.
something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
and then you create this environment where the key behind it is to create an environment where the users will do something, and the consequence of those actions will be
Yeah.
immediately sent back to them. The feedback has to be
Yeah.
as instant as possible, and
Mhm.
by as instant as possible is sometimes you have to go to the lab and get some blood work, and they tell you 2 or 3 days, hey, look at that, you have diabetes. It's as quickly as possible. There's sometimes that the feedback has to wait a little bit, but when
Mhm.
you're doing, for example, something like a credit score, and you know that, okay, so all you have to do is with your next paycheck, you're gonna pay 50% of the debt of that month or something like that.
Yeah.
You're gonna use all the money, but I don't can you're gonna stop eating meat. I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
saying something stupid, I know.
Yeah.
But you're gonna stop doing this, you're gonna focus just on this. So because
Yeah.
this is what we're gonna run for the long term. And the demon they have to defeat that week is the temptation to get something nice or get something they
Yeah.
don't need that day,
Yeah.
something that could potentially wait. And then you start working with them into training this, and you say, no, no, no,
Mhm.
I'm going to lock this up. I'm going to lock this up. And then it's like you're getting them into a boxing fight where they have to hold on tight and wait and try to avoid the hits and everything. And you use those elements that we know that are very effective
Yeah.
for learning and engagement. And then you just create a platform where people can experience them. Even if
Mhm.
it's virtually, even if it's imaginary, we
Yeah.
know There's a game. It's a very old game. It used to be played in Palm. You can actually download a version for the new phones. But in Palm, you could play what's called Dope Wars. Right? It's text. It's simple text. I mean, what else could you have in a Palm? And with simple and the simplest version of text that you can imagine, you create a game that's so engaging and it's so fantastic that you get to understand how finance works, and you understand how to invest money and how to lose money, how much you can risk, how much you can't, how to get out of debt. All of those things are put into an element, and you play it for about 10 minutes, and then you can't stop because you want to play again and play again and play again. So it's kind of like that game. It could be kind of like that idea.
Yeah, makes sense. So coming back to what you're doing right now, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Like, what are some of the things that you have vision? And is Tabby.one like related to Blue Rabbit, or how is it different?
So I'm going to say that they are, what I see it in the next 5 years is that both softwares are going to end up becoming the same, because they both aim at a little bit of the same target. And with AI, what's happening is that we are now getting into a point where we can actually help people generate their content, not generate, but produce their content. The difference between generate the content and producing the content for us is the generation is when you actually read out and you go about the subject and you create your curriculum for a class, or you create a book from it. And that's your content. That's the generation of the content or of the knowledge. And then what we want is our tool to be able to, you upload that and then you produce your content. So getting the production out of it so that you can create a learning environment or a journey where the players go through it and find all the content. So within the next 5 years, what we are looking forward to is merging all of these ideas that we've had, all the learnings that we have from the past, making this full integration that we want with AI, where Blue Rabbit will simply become this tool where whether you want to upload things manually and you want to keep doing it and organizing it in a way that's going to keep people engaged and having fun, or you want to do it automatically where the production of the content is going to be much more helpful done this way. A lot of people because a lot of them reach out and say, "Hey, aren't you scared about what AI is going to be doing to your software and everything?" I'm like, I'm not scared of AI at all. I am actually super happy that it exists because you have no idea how much help you get from something like that. And I am 100% for all of the artists out there. We've hired several of some of my best friends are artists who draw incredibly beautifully, but they cannot design 500 images for you in 2 days. What they can do, and it's one of the things that I would love to be able to hire them in the future again for the same thing, is getting the key graphics out of it and then making the variations with AI much quicker. Because when you run an event in Blue Rabbit, you need to create somewhere around 200 to 300 images. 200 to 300 final images. So you end up creating 600, 800. It would take sometimes even 4 or 5 weeks of digging into the image banks to try and find the right image. But then if you get an artist to create you the key graphics from it, and then you get like 4 or 5 different poses of your main character, and then you get the AI to help you redesign and reuse it for 100 different positions, then you start getting a much higher quality product. In terms of what the teacher or the product of people who are building the conference or people who are running the marketing department, it's a much higher quality product for the user, because the goal is for the user, not just for 1 or 2 people. And that will guide us into navigating this crisis where we think that people are going to be laid off. No, they're not. If you have someone who dedicates their life to dubbing voices, for example, they can actually come in here and use their voice to dub a little bit of it and then replicate it quickly into the other parts. And they know how to do a better script, and they can fix the parts that they don't. So that's what we want to integrate into our tool. That's what we see in the next 5 years, where you come up here and you say, I have an event for this thing. This is my agenda. Generate. Nice. And then we get it ready. And then you tweak it, because in the end, the beauty of it is that the greatest artificial intelligence that's going to be in the world is all human minds connected. It's not about a software that will be able to read all the books in the planet. It's the fact that you're going to be able to connect with hundreds of people quickly. And guess what?
Yeah.
Language has been doing that for us for the past 3,000 years, right? Well, actually more, but that's the beauty of it. Using something like that to improve that, it's going to be fantastic. And that's what we're looking forward to.
Yeah, that's a great segue, like in understanding like what is possible, right? Like we don't have to be ever scared of technology. It doesn't it if technology was going to take away stuff from us, it would have taken away stuff from us long time ago. We have not stopped walking because we have cars.
There you exactly. So one of the things that if anybody's scared about it, I presented a talk about almost 2 years ago for the University of Greenwich about adopting emerging technologies and learning. And a lot of people are very scared about AI, and said, I simply went there and I presented a little bit of the history of language. How back in ancient Greece, about between 400 and 800, and for the Common Era, there were a lot of fighting, like we should not use phonetic alphabet. And the probably the most famous part of it was the debate between Socrates and Plato, where Socrates said, if people are able to read what we have so thoroughly thought about and what we have been creating our minds and building, they're going to become shallow and they're not going to understand the depths of what we're trying to learn. But Plato realized that I understand exactly what you're coming from, because that's actually a reality. We can see that with social media, right? People become shallow because they just want to have the tip of the iceberg that matches their exact thinking, and that's the wrong way of approaching life. Plato said, however, the fact that we can share what we have learned with future generations, they can start from there. That does not mean they have to remain shallow. They mean that they can dive into what we have learned, and then from there go to deeper depth. That's exactly how we have reached the moon. That's how we're reaching Mars, because we keep building on the shoulders of giants, and then we become giants ourselves, and other people can jump over those things. So technology is not going to take anything away from us. People who are scared of it are just too closed-minded into what science fiction has sold to us. And as funny as it may sound, we could perfectly develop a benign and beautiful and super powerful AI that will help us succeed and achieve all of the beauty of any utopia that we have ever thought about. And I do know, because there now with AI, you can do all of these data analysis, that the higher our intelligence and the higher the intelligence goes, the lower the violence and the lower the need for any type of aggression. You can see how that goes up and then the aggression goes down. So the smarter we become as humanity, the further we're going to get our society forward. So I do believe that we should not be scared about it at all. We need to understand it, adopt it, and keep on working. And as much resistance there are going to be, it will always be a challenge to kind of like navigate the societal part of it. But there's so much beauty that can be built out of a tool that will take hundreds and thousands of hours out of our hands.
And that's like the way you explained it. It's like just so beautiful. I love the way you are able to explain it with all the way going back to the Greek times, and like how that came in existence. So just we are almost towards the end of the episode, but before we conclude, is there something else that you would like to share with the audience?
I would say, don't be afraid to try new ways of doing the old things, and at the same time understand why the old things are done the way they're done. Once we get those two things together, we say, oh, so they were doing it this way because they didn't have this tool now. Now we have that, we can, and then all the fear is going to disappear, and we're going to reach incredible heights. And that's what I'm looking for, being able to put a little bit of grain of sand into the world that will allow everybody to get to higher places. That's what I would like to see in the
That,
next
yeah,
5 years.
that is amazing. Thanks for sharing that. And thanks. This was a great episode. Thanks for coming over and sharing
Thanks for
a
having me.
lot of insights. I learned a lot through everything that you shared. I think we have only scratched the surface of everything that we wanted to speak about, but I would love to like learn more. I'm gonna go ahead, download the app and like start playing with it and getting a little bit more intelligent.
Perfect. Sounds
Yeah.
fantastic.
Thanks, Bernardo.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Main Street Minds. Want to share your journey with our audience? Head over to mainstreetmindspodcast.com/guest to apply.